Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. This is going to be another interview video, and the person that I'm interviewing is named Cleo, and she is a psychic from the Pacific Northwest. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Cleo.
Hi.
How are you?
I am doing great, and I am so excited to be here today.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you too. I've been looking forward to this. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, let's talk about what I do.
Okay.
I'm not a psychic reader, as far as I don't do readings, and that's not what this is about. What I do is I am a seer, and this came about I would say about 25 years ago. Totally by accident. Didn't know this could even exist. I was in a bad situation in my life, and my life had turned upside down. It was upheaval. And in the process of trying to figure out, well, I got really sick. And in the process of trying to get over that, I spent a lot of time meditating and a lot of time praying. And apparently I overdid it and exposed myself to becoming a seer as partly, I'm psychic and I'm a seer. So anyway, that's what I want to talk to you about today, of how I do, that's how I came about it. And we've talked, you're my sister, and so we've talked about this, and you know that as far as when was I psychic before that? Yes, little things would come to mind, and I would say going back to the age of 15 or so. But I just didn't pay that much attention to it, and it just happens to be that I come from a family of psychics, and so I kind of let my sister and my brother and my other brother kind of take off in their directions, and I didn't get into it as much. Sure, we talked about it, it was interesting and stuff, but I wasn't all that into it until I came into a different time in my life when it was critical to find out what is going on. How do I get better? I was so sick, and not terminal, but very ill. And I'm finding more and more, I'm hearing of other people that kind of went through the same thing. They got sick, maybe they had cancer, and suddenly they found themselves open to something else. So I see it as kind of talking through your soul, and that something comes through to you in your soul. And in my thinking, the only way you could make that kind of connection. But at the time I was like, who knew this could happen? I mean, it's totally unexpected. So I want to talk to you about future events. I can go into the past or I can go into the future.
Well, I would like to know just a little bit more in specific, the kinds of things that you did that really opened you up to spirit.
Okay. Basically, just a lot of meditation, a lot of prayer, and a lot of soul searching. Now, I think the key there is the soul searching, because that's what opened things up. And when that happened, I first started thinking, did I hear that or did I think that? And I just couldn't figure out what was going on, that suddenly, because I'd ask myself stuff like, what am I going to do? How do I get better? What in the hell is wrong with me? Why did all this stuff happen to me? And then little by little, I started hearing answers to my questions, and I'm like, whoa, now I'm schizophrenic. And, and I just got a little tiny bit freaked out, but then I realized, no, this was something else. And this was, it was really a special experience to be able to go through something like this. But basically, yeah, just intense meditation, intense prayer, and intense soul searching. And by the way, 25 years ago, I went through this, and after many years of working with it, I did get better. I did heal. I'm doing fine today. And that's what, but really that's what brought about this ability to see into the future, see into the past, and then other things. But did that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you said you don't do personal readings for people, so your process must be involved, I guess, in order to get answers.
Very.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your process?
Yes. And the process has changed throughout time, because when I first started this, I had trouble hearing the right stuff. And also when I first opened up to this, it sounded like people were shouting at me.
Oh my gosh.
And it was really freaky. And finally I said, I don't know who you are and what's going on, but quit yelling at me. And and they're like, what? And they're like, but can you hear us? And it just sounds like, it sounds like that coming out of a megaphone. And I'm like, can I hear you? Oh my God. Yes. And they go, it's true. Okay. You say, my God, there we go. And so it went back and forth that way. And finally we needed to tone it down. So, and the process for me may be entirely different to somebody else that does this. I really feel like this is, totally how it worked out for me. So I would ask, let's just try something. Like today, I'm very interested in talking to you about Roe versus Wade. So when I first heard about it on the news, and then I watched some news reports, and I'm thinking, wow, this is a shocker. And but then I kept thinking, well, I did hear the Supreme Court was going to do something, different. And I thought, well, what does that mean for everybody? So then I'm watching the news and I see half of these people are just like, Yahoo, this is great. Another half is like, oh my God, you're taking away my rights. And, why are you doing this? And they're very upset. They're distraught. Then people start marching, and it just reminded me so much of the 60s when we first tried to get the rights. So I thought, well, what is happening here? And it's not just about the abortion issues. That's not what this is about. Actually, sometimes it takes one step backward to make two steps forward. And that's kind of what's happening here. Here's what I did. I just threw out a question to the universe and said, what in the world is going on here? And they said, hey, it's not that bad. It's not really that bad. You just have to see, it's like this should have happened a long time ago. And I'm like, what? Taking away a woman's right to choose? They said, no. That's not what this is really about. What this is really about is the right to life. So, and fathers' rights. We've got women's rights, fathers' rights, and babies' rights. And they said, what is going to happen here is the laws are going to change and the people are going to be protected. Now, part of the reason a lot of women wanted to get an abortion is because they could not afford to have a baby. They didn't see a good future for the baby. Well, that's so important. So the reason they couldn't do anything is because they didn't have any money. Well, now the men come into play. Men really, it takes two to tango in this situation. And it just feels to me like men have been left out of the equation. So, and this is the messages I'm getting, is absolutely they have. And they need to speak up too. And they need to be responsible for this new life. I mean, so far it's all been laid on the women because they're going to have the baby. But it takes a man and a woman to create that baby. So what is going to happen in the future is the laws are going to change dramatically, which is going to be such a positive difference for everybody involved, including the unborn, or possibly, well, they call it the unwanted pregnancy. It's bad to bring a baby into this world if you don't want it.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot of women that say, "Yeah, I would have wanted it, but it just didn't. It wasn't the right time. I didn't have the money." Getting away from all those issues, let's go back to the baby's rights. What rights does the baby have? Well, the baby has to be taken care of. The baby has to be loved. The baby has to have a roof over its head.
Baby has to be born.
Exactly.
The baby has to be born. That's the first thing.
So
and get its chart done. Yeah, it has to be born. It has to have its astrology chart done. Okay, go ahead.
So the men are going to be taking responsibility now. They're a big part of this, and what's going to happen is the laws are going to change to where all biological fathers are going to be financially responsible for these children up to the age of 18, and for the first probably. I mean, I don't know exactly how the law is going to be written, but between, I would say, the ages of 5 and 6, they are going to have total responsibility to pay the mother for her rent, her food, her everything she needs will come from them. And I think a lot of men will be like, you know, because they're saying they can't deal with this fact that they're thinking that we're killing babies. That's their complaint. That is the people that are pro-choice, that they just don't want us killing babies. Well, so they have to step up and pay for it.
Yeah, including health insurance.
Every single thing, so that the mother can be in her best position to care for the child, to give the child love, to, you know, the rearing of the child. The mother will not be held responsible for any of this. And as a matter of fact, you know, I mean, let's go back. Let's say that the father is 19 years old and his girlfriend's going to have a baby. And he's like, well, how am I going to pay for this? I can't pay for it. You will be put in jail or prison for not holding up your end of this, because it's not about the mother, really. It's about the baby. So everything has to go back to the baby. What can the baby, you know, the baby can't do anything. So, but if they don't want to pay their fair share, they will go to prison. But the prison system for this kind of a crime is going to be much different than regular prison. They'll have an opportunity to learn a trade, to possibly maybe work for the government, to create an income for themselves that will be given to the mother and the baby.
Well, I'm wondering if this is going to coincide with a real maternity leave law in the United States for women, and free or freer college for young people. Because if those two things were in place, it would make all of this a lot easier to happen.
Well, and this is going to happen. It is going to happen.
I just want to say one more thing. I think they should call this the Yoko Ono Law, because this is what she wanted John Lennon to do after she carried a child for 9 months. She's like, okay, I did all the carrying of the baby. Now you have to take care of the baby and do all the work. So that's my bid. It should be called the Yoko Ono Law.
Okay. I'm thinking that it will probably come out as the Pro-Life Accountability Act.
I like that.
Marriage doesn't change it at all.
It's
strictly the biological father and his rights. But
Okay.
he's got to be prepared to, if he's going to create a life, he's got to be prepared to pay for that life, and he will be responsible for up to the 18 years of that child. It doesn't have anything to do with whether the mother is married or not. She won't have any say in it either. She can't step up and say, no, I've got enough money, don't worry about it. That's not the point. The point is that these men need to be held responsible,
Yeah.
and to take care of the needs of the child.
Wow, you got such an intense download. I mean, so many.
Well, in the way this all came, I mean, I have been working on this particular thing for about 2 weeks of trying to figure out what's being told to me. Because I'm thinking the same, I'm thinking, well, good luck. Some guy gets his girlfriend pregnant. He's not going to be responsible. Well, the only way to hold up to that responsibility is by putting them in jail or prison. But the problem with that is, oh, great. So, yeah, they're in prison. How are they ever going to pay for the child while they're in prison? So there will become another side to this, where the government will actually put people in a position to learn a trade, like I said, and to make the money to pay for the child, because that's the whole point of this. And the whole point of what people are so upset about is that you're going to be killing a baby. It'll also make it more comfortable and easier on the mother to take care of the kid, especially in the first 5 or 6 years, which is the most critical time for a child. It'll be so much better.
So much more humane.
So much more humane, and it makes so much more sense to do something like this.
I mean, it's hard enough to be a young mother and to take care of a child when you feel like you don't have any support system, you don't have anybody else there. But then to also have to work and navigate the whole world of, now I need to figure out an apartment that's bigger. Now I need to work this job. Now I need daycare. Now I need an extra babysitter if I ever want to, be able to take a shower by myself. Now I need to get the kid into a preschool. Or, I mean, there's just so many things that when you have no support system are just like these really hard things to accomplish. So just right there, the fact that the person can have their housing taken care of, have money for the child taken care of, so that they can be just a normal thinking adult and navigate their life just kind of normally. That would be astounding. That would be great. And also, I think it will promote much better feelings among men, because they can stop feeling like they have to run away from this. They can stop feeling like, they're getting away with something by not paying for their kid, and then they just feel terrible, and they have all sorts of, issues over that. So I think this is a really good plan. Really good plan.
Well, it will happen. It's just, like I said, I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know that we have to also think about, well, what about the young man that impregnates his girlfriend, and he's like, he knows the new law, and he knows he's going to be held responsible, so he just goes out and kills her, or he goes out and causes a miscarriage. Those obviously falls into another kind of a law that would already exist, but but the killing, the causing of a miscarriage will be possibly punishable by death, if not life imprisonment. However, again, even if the baby is passed, you'll still be responsible for that. You're still going to have to pay, and that money goes into a fund that will help new mothers that can't get paid for, maybe they're in the father is in transition, trying to figure out how he's going to make the money and stuff. So there'll be a fund to kind of cushion that. The other problem is right now, the way it stands, it falls on the state. So, you can go to the state and they're going to give you food money. They're going to give you, housing. mean, we're so fortunate to live in a country that has these kind of things that try to take care of people a little bit.
Mhm.
But when this law goes into effect, it should help lessen the burden of the state and their social services programs.
Good.
It will also, we have to, they've got to think of everything, especially the protection of the mother and the child,
Mhm.
because men could go ahead and try to, they're going to look for loopholes. They're going to try to find something that will get them out of this. Nothing will get them out of it. If the paternity test says you are the biological father of this baby, you're responsible for the next 18 years. Now,
And I just want to say, because we've been really talking about how men don't take responsibility for their acts, and I do think there's a lot of evidence to that effect. But there are some men that absolutely step up and take responsibility, and there are,
absolutely.
and I think even more, there's a lot of men who wrestle with this decision. Well, should I? I mean, I could just like move to another state and then she couldn't get any money out of me. And I think for any guy who is somewhat on the fence, this law would help them be the bigger man. It would help him step up and be, the hero, whatever. And I think a lot of men would feel good about that.
Exactly. There is a lot of men that will feel good about it. There is a lot of men that aren't going to back up and say, oh, whoa, wait a minute. But it also makes them think twice about what they're doing. And,
Yes. Yes. Putting
what
on that condom. Yes. Yes.
exactly.
Put on that condom.
Yeah. And they won't be able to say, well, she told me she was on birth control. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Whatever it is, it's all got to do with this baby. And
So,
like I
so
said,
what I'm getting here is that we are shifting from the divine patriarchy to the divine feminine, where the shoe's on the other foot now. It is your responsibility because women have those eggs going on and coming down every month. But guys only have their little swimmers coming out when they perform the act. Anyway, swimmers that are going to make any effect, right? So
right,
now it's like, okay, guys, it always should have been your responsibility. And
exactly.
since enough of you have not stepped up in the past, now we're going to make a law about it. Instead of
Right.
always punishing the women, guess what? You run the risk of being punished. And
Exactly.
I think that's fair.
Exactly.
Fair.
And, and if they're underage themselves, unfortunately, the parents of that underage boy is going to have to step up and give them some money, give the mother some money. And once that young person becomes of age, which is probably 18, it could change to 21. I don't know. But they will still be responsible for this. And like I said, they're going to be responsible for it, even if something happens to the child. And there will be debates about that. But it's basically the responsibility of the men for for the 18 years of the child until the child is able to do things on their own. Now, I'm not saying that they might have to bear the expense for the mother and the child until the child is 18. In other words, like there might be at some point that the mother can go to work or the mother can help with this, but if she can't, they have to do it. And if they can't figure out how to do it, the government, the prison system, maybe even things like the army can step in and provide training and help to these people to do just that. So that opens up a whole another avenue for some men that maybe wouldn't have any kind of opportunities,
Right.
that wouldn't know what to do. They will be put into a position of, let's take a look at what you're interested in. What can we develop with you? What can you do to make a living? And it could be really good. But you've got a good point. There's a lot of men, they're looking forward to, maybe it was an accident, but they don't mind that. They feel their responsibility. And I see all the pro-life men on the news anyway, they're really excited and happy that this is happening because they felt like they haven't had a,
Mhm.
they felt a couple of different things, but
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
also,
Can I say one other thing about guys? So
yeah,
I think this change will really, really affect men and their cultural attitudes over time. And I think within probably just a couple generations, maybe just 2 or 3 generations, I think it's going to make a profound difference in the lives of those children who were born under this law, because they will probably have a better chance of having their fathers in their lives. So there will be a better role model for boys and men in general to follow. They'll see that their father was responsible, their father stepped up, their father helped their mother, even though they weren't married, and also probably was in their life. Because right now, more than, I think it's something like 60 or 70% of households are just run by women because there is no man in the child's life. And yeah, you can have those visiting weekends with the divorced parents and stuff. But you know what? That those weekends, it's not every day, but also sometimes those weekends get missed. I mean, in my daughter's cases, those weekends got missed for sometimes more than a year at a time. So, for other kids, and I'm, an entitled white middle class woman. So imagine for somebody who isn't that, that and has the whole weekend child thing going on with an ex spouse. Those kids probably, there's a lot of kids who don't get to see their dad, even though their dad is supposedly in their life, and it messes with you. You need both parents, really. You need the example of both parents in order to learn what relationships are about.
well, and under this law, they will be totally, they will have, visitation rights and all that. They can
Yeah.
actually, it will be encouraged that these men be a part of their child's life. The other thing is, with this new ruling by the Supreme Court, they didn't eliminate abortion. They just said, let the state handle it. What's the state want to do? Now we see a bunch of states saying we want it to be illegal, but there's other states. I think New Jersey is one that's also going to be
Yes, New
keeping.
Jersey is gonna remain a place where you can legally get an abortion, and I don't know if they're gonna want to be a sanctuary state or not, but it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me in the least. We're an itty bitty state, but we have a lot of people. So there's going to be a lot of people who need abortions, but I
So
wouldn't be surprised at all. New York, I think, is going to be a sanctuary, right?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. And we're right next to New York. So usually the way New York goes, New Jersey just acts like, we're the tail of the dog. We're going to go ahead and do it too. Because
I'm just going by the colors I've seen on the news where they got the colored states that went, bright red. No, we're not going to do this.
26, I cannot believe that. 26 states had trigger laws that went into effect. Well, by now, they're all in effect.
And I believe the entire West Coast is still going to keep
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's how the map looks. Yeah,
And
everybody on
so
board. Yeah.
now this law is also going to bring into play about whether the man's going to have a choice about the abortion.
Hmm.
Um, they will have to sign a release of some kind that will be part of a record that says that they agree that this woman should have an abortion. So that gets a little iffy, but let's say
Will that preclude the woman from getting an abortion if he says no?
it could. It could possibly do that, but that they have to realize what their responsibilities are, and they will have to show how they can support the child if
Mm.
they decide not to do it. But part of this is because the women are left with such guilt. And, a
Yeah.
lot of women that have had abortions just, they agonize over it. And it's really difficult. And they're always all on their own. Well, not always, but they're basically all on their own. Now,
Yes.
now the father, the biological father, comes into play. He is going to either, support her in whatever she wants to do, or he's going to say, no, I don't want to do that. So it'll take his signature to have an abortion.
Wow, that is controversial.
Well,
the woman really is still, holding the power in that situation, because what if she conveniently forgets who the father is? I don't know, but I do.
or maybe there's multiple people that.
Well, exactly. Like, could be Tom, Dick, or Harry. So I got three signatures.
Yeah, really, I think it might be Harry, but then again, it might. Was it Tom? I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So that law might not be.
I think that would be fine. That would be the Tom, Dick, or Harry part of the
It's
law.
just an idea, a law that could go out there that could help women instead of people looking at them like you did something bad, and also to have some support and some input. More than likely, 9 times out of 10, if a woman wants to do that, if she wants to terminate a pregnancy, she's got her reasons, and the father will probably go along with it.
Yeah, and I think too, it would really help if they stopped using the word abortion. It would really help if they just called it what it is, which is a DNC, or I don't know what they call the pill, but the pharmautically induced abortion, or the Plan B, because there's two different pills. It would really help if they just referred to it as a medical procedure.
That's the other thing. I mean, a woman could do that too without getting consent from the father, but it's just another way to just to bring this to the forefront of who is responsible here. Well, there's two people responsible, not just one. Mm-hmm. And then in the end, if it culminates into the birth of a child, then this is a problem. They have to be taken care of, and it takes money to do that.
Right. It's so right.
Yeah. There's so much stuff going on there. Now, I haven't really given this as much. I haven't thrown the questions out about this as much as I have with some other things, but and I'm just floored by what we're hearing. I mean, just how much the former president. I always thought he was lying to us, but I didn't realize he was. This really cements it. I mean, he consistently lied from the beginning of his campaign, right on through till the end of his presidency, and still he is just ignoring the whole thing. He just. Now the problem is there's still a lot of people that they don't know what to think.
Right.
They're so they just love Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And if you look at it from my side, I mean, I'm not from New York. My exposure to Donald Trump was The Apprentice. And I just saw this guy that had this show about how rich he was and all the real estate he had and doing things. And then the show really ended up being that they were all trying to donate money to good causes and stuff. So I thought that was great. Then the other part of the show was who wants to become a business person with Donald Trump or connected to his businesses. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, okay, so when he ran for president, I thought, well, what does that have to do with being president? And nothing. He was never, he didn't know what he was doing, but he just loved the power of it all. And
I don't think he ever expected to win. I think that was a big issue.
That's the way he fools you. That's the way he fooled all of us. Uh, he totally knew he was going to win because he totally knew who he had on his side.
Oh, yeah, let's not talk about that. No, go ahead, talk about that.
He had foreign help.
Yeah.
He had help from foreign countries. And people don't quite understand, that don't want to look at it, don't quite understand how could that be and how could that make him president. Well, they had been infiltrated with bogus information from before the campaign started.
Probably for at least 10 years before that. What was it, like Miss Universe that was in Russia? When Donald Trump owned the Miss Universe contest?
Possibly.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
this whole explosion of what's happening with these hearings, and what's her name? Liz Cheney?
Yeah.
She's totally put her political aspirations on the line. I mean, she may well get voted out.
I'm afraid for her safety.
Well,
I'm afraid for her safety.
I think she'll be fine. I feel like she'll be fine. Her safety's, what she's concerned about. She's not so much concerned about Republican and Democrat. She's concerned about the democracy of this country.
Yeah.
Coming unhinged, and that you can't have a person like Donald Trump who makes claims that aren't true, and that just what he got away with for 4 years is, if I say it, that is the case, that is the truth, that's what you need to follow. Biden gets blamed for everything, so
yeah. He's doing great. I just want to say very publicly, Joe, I love you. Keep doing it, man. Keep on trucking. You can do it. Okay.
And they're so mad at Joe for the economy falling apart, and that's not his fault. The economy,
that's COVID. That's Donald Trump.
Totally COVID, and when nobody could have seen this, the price of gas was going to go out of this world. But if you look back on it, the oil companies, and here and in other countries, that COVID thing really put a dent in their profits. So I'm thinking they're just trying to recover what should have been theirs through 2019, 2020, 2021. And, and they can, we can all thank President Biden for insisting that we get vaccinated and to make that accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
And make it easy to get. People are still getting COVID.
Oh, yeah.
They're not getting it sick. Less people are dying. The only reason we can have this 4th of July weekend that looks almost normal is because of President Biden and all his work that he did. Right. Along with the pharmaceutical companies. Thank God for them.
Yeah, but right after the 4th of July weekend, we're going to have a big surge in
we are.
COVID hospitalizations and deaths.
We are, and we're also going to have another pandemic.
Oh, tell me about that.
Not all the information is in on this. One thing that we're going to start seeing more and more goofy things come up, like what's it called, monkeypox.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's going to be the pandemic, because that's a little bit harder to catch. I guess they already do have vaccines for it. And
yeah, I think they said that the shingles and the chicken pox, I think that takes care of it.
You mean if you've already had those things?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm good. I've had all of them.
Yeah, me too.
I had shingles, and I had a super case of measles, and as a child.
I had it as an adult. Thank you. Thanks, Dad. Thanks.
So, yeah, I'm not sure what it's going to be, but it will be. It could be COVID related. I'm kind of thinking it's not. It's going to be beyond that, and I think this is something we're just going to have to continue to to watch out for. You know, everybody's all excited about, yay, I don't have to wear a mask. And no, the social distancing seems to be fading away. And I don't know, like I've seen some of the late night shows that come out of New York, and I see the audience is wearing masks. And I'm like,
Yeah. Like when I go to, I go to a dermatologist pretty regularly, right? And I got to wear a mask. I get a massage every couple of weeks. I got to wear a mask. Now when I go to the hairdressers, they don't make me wear a mask, but a lot of salons do. And everybody working there is still wearing a mask. Everybody at like Dunkin' Donuts is still wearing a mask. Where's the other places? Because I don't even want to go to stores anymore.
but you know, people need to continue to use masks. And the other thing about getting the vaccine was great, and it has just been a game changer as far as opening up the economy and people getting together and doing stuff. But now you're in a position where you know, this the asymptomatic. That's another thing about COVID that's been so tough.
Yeah.
It's asymptomatic, and so a lot of people that have been vaccinated can carry this around and not have any symptoms whatsoever.
Yes, we probably have thousands of typhoid Marys running around that are really COVID Colleens or something, you know.
Right.
Now, did you get the booster?
I did get the booster. Well, and if everybody would be that responsible, it would really be good. But but also because there's going to be new stuff coming up, and if you go back, I mean, there was a time when the only thing we could bank on was wearing a mask.
Yeah,
That's the only thing that was saving some of us from not getting it.
Mhm.
And I am definitely wearing. I don't just wear a mask. I wear double mask.
Well, what kind of masks do you use? Those little flimsy things?
I use this like everybody uses.
Mhm.
Then over this, put this thing on. Then I use this thing. This is a little, it's almost like a polyester thing that helps.
Okay.
It's stretchy, so it keeps the side of the paper mask closer to my face. And also it adds protection. There was actually 3 layers to this little thing. However, I would not use this by itself. It's got to, in my thinking, I've got to have both these. I got to have this one and.
Can you still breathe through that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have a hard time breathing with the, what are they called? N95 masks?
Yeah, I use the N95. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't breathe with those?
I have a hard time with it.
Huh.
So that's why I went to this. And these are washable. I will only use it once and then I wash them.
Mhm.
And I don't, I do that. Like, let's say I go to the store and then I go to Costco.
Mhm.
2 different stores, 2 different masks. Always, I'm a little bit of a germaphobe in the first place and maybe a little bit neurotic about this whole thing, but
Oh, no. I think it's perfectly normal.
but there will be, we've been through it now, so we have a little bit better idea what to do. Plus, the government has had a plan of how to deal with pandemics for, I believe, I think going back to Obama.
Well, yeah, and Obama left. Obama did very big studies on this because he lived through, I think, 2 scares, Ebola and SARS. Did he also do SARS? But anyway, he had a couple of scares, and so they left very detailed plans about what to do. They had stockpiles of everything from masks to ventilators, and our dear sweet golden menace just chucked it all, just got rid of it all.
Just got rid of it.
Not doing that.
All those doctors.
I want that room for my massage room. So just throw all that stuff away. And he also dismantled the structure of having people designated in the various roles, from the, national health services to there was a pandemic response team, and he dismantled all of that.
Yeah. And so that is part of the reason why the United States was hit so hard.
Yeah.
It
Well,
harder than almost all the other big countries. I mean,
right. And I mean, he could have remantled it. I mean, no, it wouldn't have been that hard. He could have picked up the phone and said, "Hey, Barack, remember that stuff you had about the pandemics? Could I get a copy?" I mean, he he could have.
instead in the beginning he acted like it was a hoax.
Except to Bob. Who was that? Bob Woodward, or who was the guy who wrote the book where he had the conversation with them, that he admitted to him that it was terrible. One of the Watergate guys. I think it was Bob Woodward. I'm going to stick with Bob Woodward. Okay, that's my story. Bob Woodward. I'm sticking to it.
Okay. And getting back to the January 6 hearings and
Yes.
Donald Trump. The Republican Party is in a mess, in a huge, big mess. And they've kind of taken on the same attitude as Donald Trump. I mean, especially the Trump supporters, of saying stuff like pointing the finger at somebody else. And, one guy said that the reason they're having these hearings is because the Democrats hate Donald Trump. Well, this has nothing to do with that. And if anybody's paid attention to the hearings, it has nothing to do. There's no personal vendetta involved here. We had a man that comes in and acts like he's president and then turns around and says, "But I want to be president again. And I don't care what you guys voted for. I'm telling you, that was a phony vote. It should have been me." And then he tries to get all these other people to do illegal things for him to keep that. I mean, it was just, we've never seen anything like it. I don't think we'll ever see anything like it again. You're wondering, will he be prosecuted? Boy, oh boy, he should be prosecuted. But they have to consider all things. I mean, for one thing, his supporters have to realize that they had been lied to and used for 4 years. And they're not going to be quick to admit that.
No, I think we have to have a national cult deprogramming program going on in order for them to accept that they've been lied to.
I think what they've done with these hearings is just brought up they've brought up so many points that can't be denied. That something illegal in here.
Have you ever talked to somebody who's in a cult? I have. It's really hard to convince them that their truth isn't the truth, because you're threatening their worldview.
Exactly.
Their world is the whole orange Cheeto, and if you start pulling all the Cheeto dust off of him and all you have left is the little hull of the baked cheese chip, whatever the hell it is, that's, you can't look at that and say, "Oh, that's appetizing." You just can't. So you have to go, no. Let me get my spray paint. Let me spray tan it again. No, see this is him. He's gorgeous,
On the other side of things, there's many Republicans, just regular citizens, that are Republican, that are going, "Wait, he did what? Mm-hmm. He's told this governor to do what?" Mm-hmm. So will he be prosecuted for that? I have a feeling no. I think what'll come down to, there'll be some private discussions between the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and a team of Trump lawyers that will try to figure out something. In the end, there's a good possibility he will not be allowed to run as for president.
But you don't think there'll be any prosecution? See, I think there will be.
I hope you're right.
There has to be, because if they don't, then the next guy who comes along and tries to be another Trump is going to succeed in that insurrection. And that's what most people who work in government know And that's what they're also afraid of, because it was all too easy for him in his bumbling, idiotic way to bumble into almost toppling the government. He came really, really close.
Very close.
So I think what my instinct is that he will be prosecuted. And at that point, when he sees that it's just not going his way, he'll have an emergency health crisis that has to be dealt with. And he'll either end up spending the rest of his days in some sort of a care facility, or who knows, maybe he'll pass. Who knows?
I'm feeling what you're talking about is that you're more on the right track than I am.
Yeah, because I don't forget, I've been married to 2 narcissists. I have. Life experience counts for something, Kathy. Don't mock me.
Absolutely.
And one of them had 5 children. So at one point, I was the mother to 7 children. And children are exactly the way the Republican Party are acting right now. They are acting like, you're kicking all the sand out of our sandbox, and we don't like you, so we're going to take all your toys.
Well, they're also really worried because their party is falling apart.
It's fallen apart. It has fallen apart.
And so I read another article not too long, within the last week, where it said 1 million people have switched over to the Republican Party. And I looked at that and I thought, what?
No, they haven't. Here's the other thing too. You see all of those headlines with 57% of Republicans believe this, and I'm thinking 57% of Republicans. Does that amount to like 150 people? Because there's nobody left in the Republican Party anymore. Most of them have left. So it's true that they are the minority of the country. So you can say that 60% of Republicans want something, and that means 100, 150 people in the whole country want something. And you know what? If we don't stop them, those 150 people are going to run things. So it's really important that we
and hopefully the people in this country are going to understand that everything's being blamed on Biden right now. And I even read that somebody said that Biden is less popular than Trump. And it's those kind of things, that get people thinking about stuff and I keep hearing this stuff about Biden, and I'm thinking, did we all forget why we can actually go out and do stuff right now?
Yes.
Because Biden did what he did for and then they're talking about the economy and, blaming him for everything there.
Well, and again, first of all, the media, what's wrong with you? The media just sensationalizes everything to the 10th degree, and they love to bring down the hero. They love to bring down the guy on top, and that gets them ratings. So I guess I understand that, but what kind of animals are we that's all we will watch on TV is, some ratings hog. But here's the thing: if they're putting out polls that say Democrats 54%, Republicans 75%, down on Biden. Well, again, it's 150 people in the country who have said that Republican opinion, and 400 gazillion for the Democrats, and so the numbers are skewed. But you can't believe those polls. I really
exactly. It's the polls. These are all the polls.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see that, yes, people are complaining, and people are complaining because, they're worried. It's natural for people to want to blame somebody and point the finger. And so presidents, over history, they blame the president. But I think when it comes time to elect a new president, but in between time, that a lot of things are going to change, and the opinions of Biden are probably going to change, if indeed that is actually the opinions of the people right now. I don't know if I believe that it is.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. And astrologically, I've looked a lot at Joe Biden's chart, and he's just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. If he chooses to do a second run for president, he will win. I know for a fact that his legacy is tied to the United States. So he will go down in history as a great president. He will be one of the greats.
Well, and he is. He's just so experienced and so dedicated.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes. He is so
I mean,
experienced.
he's just got it all together that way.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of those things are going to happen. I think that when Ivanka said, I believe what Bill Barr or William Barr said, the Attorney General at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and that really pissed off Donald Trump. But, I don't think that whatever she did or didn't do was, she was always on the right side of things, I think. I don't think they're going to get in any trouble. And speaking of William Barr, I mean, he specifically said that, I'd say specifically said, now I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he said that Donald Trump was detached from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Now that is very telling. And I totally, that makes total sense. If you look at all that was done, and if you to say this person has a mental defect, he's detached from reality, there you have it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened.
And I think that's a part of what may come out and what his lawyers will really put out there if he is actually prosecuted. I think they will say he was not in his right mind. And then who do we hold responsible for that? Why didn't Mike Pence or Mark Meadows or somebody start the 25th Amendment? Why didn't they try to take over for him? Because it didn't happen all of a sudden on January 5th that he was detached from reality. This dude was detached from reality when he came down the escalator.
Right.
I mean, this is, like, why? Why are you letting this guy do this?
And people were questioning it for the entire 4 years, and the supporters are saying, oh, you're just unhappy because Hillary isn't in there. Yeah, we were unhappy about that.
Yeah, we were.
And Hillary, Trump says that Biden stole the election, when in fact, Trump should have never, ever been president. He stole the election.
Yes,
he stole this election with the help of foreign countries.
Mm-hmm.
And he's so, he was so his thing is the best defense is an offense, or whatever that's saying.
He's got such an insecure pit in his personality that even though he did win, he never could let Hillary go. He continues to talk about that for every day of his presidency. So, I mean, most bullies are inherently insecure. And the reason they bully is to make themselves feel better. But, Donald Trump is a narcissist and he can't feel better. That's just a part of his profile. He's just always going to feel like he has to put somebody down in order for him to feel up.
And then getting back to Donald Trump's thing, I mean, when the war first broke out, he said that Putin was a genius.
Yeah.
He also said that if he had been president, Russia wouldn't have started a war with Ukraine.
Well, no, because they would have just walked up, rung the doorbell, and taken over, And
it really had, I mean, Putin thinks Donald Trump's just a clown show. I mean, he's not respectful of Donald Trump. However, he would have preferred that Donald Trump did win. And apparently they did everything they could to try to make that happen. It just didn't work out. Because if Donald Trump had been president, Ukraine would be getting very little, if any, support from the United States.
Oh, no support whatsoever. None. And NATO probably would be dismantled by now if Donald Trump were president. NATO wouldn't be able to help them either because it would not exist anymore. So, I mean, a lot of things got turned around when Biden became president.
Yeah. And there's so many reasons why things work out the way they do. And that's why I see, the upcoming presidential election in 2024.
Yes. Yeah.
That things will have changed so much between now and then. Biden's popularity, if the polls will be honest, will go up. But let's say that Biden decided not to run for whatever reason, and that Trump for some reason didn't run. Who do you got left? Now you've got this governor down in Florida.
Oh my God.
And he is almost as big a disaster as Trump.
Well, a bigger disaster because he's a Harvard-educated lawyer.
Oh, okay, you're right.
He's not stupid.
So that could be bad. We have to watch out for, somebody like that. Also, there's a thought about Liz Cheney running for president. I don't see that happening, but she'd be great. And then Liz Cheney versus who's our vice president?
Kamala Harris.
Yes. That would be interesting. It's probably never going to happen, but.
And I heard a rumor that Mike Pence wanted to run for president with Liz Cheney as his VP. And I can just imagine that conversation where Liz Cheney says, "Do you hear something? Did somebody say something to me? I don't know." And just walking out of the room. Liz Cheney would not entertain that for 1 minute. And I don't love Liz Cheney, but I love what she's doing.
I totally love what she's doing.
I love what she's doing.
And I have a lot of respect for her, even though,
she's a real Republican. I mean,
but we have to quit this thing about the Republicans versus the Democrats constantly clashing. This has got to stop. And this is what Biden has been trying to do from the get-go. Mm-hmm. It hasn't always been this crazy. And it wasn't
pretty bad. I mean, if you recall when Barack Obama was elected, John Boehner, I just was flabbergasted when I saw this. John Boehner was interviewed, and on primetime news, he said, "Well, our assignment from here on out is clear. It's just to prevent Barack Obama from getting any laws on the books." I'm like, what? You're saying that out loud? Are you kidding me? I mean, I already knew that politicians were pretty corrupt. I did not know that it was that bad at that point, and it's just gotten worse. Oh.
So the fact that she's a Republican, I'm looking at what she's doing, and she's not approaching this as a Republican. She's approaching it as a person concerned about democracy.
That's true, but I still wouldn't vote for her for president because she did vote for every single Trump initiative that went down to the Senate. So, I mean, she's a dyed-in-the-wool conservative, gun-toting, don't have an abortion, bring the church back to my school kind of Republican.
Well, it'll probably never happen. But, it was just a speculation. And more people are saying stuff like she should run for president. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people consider her a hero for doing what she's doing.
Oh, so, I consider her a hero, but I don't want her in the White House. What about Miss Lindsey Graham? Now, there's a person who would love to be president. Although she makes a real habit of just cozying up to the biggest, most powerful person in the room rather than actually taking on the power herself. So
no, Lindsey Graham, never happened. Never happened.
No.
But I am concerned about this guy down in Florida.
Oh, me too.
And I'd love to know. I just haven't quite figured out what the people that live in Florida, what they think of. I mean, he attacked Disneyland for crying out loud.
I know. I don't know anybody personally that's living in Florida right now, but I know from what I see from the YouTubers that I watch, and there's a few that live in Florida, and they just think he's a nightmare. They just think he's a nightmare.
Oh, good. That's good to know.
Yeah, nobody's taking him seriously. What else we got? You know what? I think I brought up the wrong list of questions, so I'm glad you have questions there because I think I have the wrong one.
Well, you've got more questions about Ivanka, about who's going to be prosecuted, who's going to go to jail. They're scrambling. They are scrambling. I mean, these people, like the governors that have come out and said that they were being forced practically to corrupt their state's vote and turn it around to make it look like it was for Trump and not for Biden. And they all, I mean, they're shook up about the fact that they were put in that position. How dare the president
Yeah.
them to lie?
Yeah.
And so, you know, nothing's going to happen to them. But then you've got all these people that support Trump, like Giuliani and some of these other people that are just they're characters. They're not they're not really anybody that should have any clout, but they seem to. Is, you know, that Giuliani is just a nutcase, and those people, they better be watching what's going on here, because they could very well be prosecuted and held liable in certain conditions of their participation in backing up Trump on these lies. And because we all know now that everything that came out was a lie. They all knew it as it was happening.
Yep.
Trump knew he was lying.
Yep.
So, you know, then you're going to have to explain all that away and let it go. I don't think so. I think, you know, I think a lot of people.
Yeah. I think Trump has finally reached the end of his leash, and it snapped. And now, just like a
Never
dog.
underestimate what he can come up with next.
Yeah, well, he can come up with it, but I don't think it's going to wash. I don't think anything that he can say now will get him out of this bind. For one thing, the committee, I think it's safe to say that anybody who has been subpoenaed to appear before the committee is probably also going to be indicted by the DOJ. And I think Trump is never going to be asked to come to be questioned by the committee, but he will also be indicted and ultimately prosecuted. And I think a lot of the people who get those indictments from the DOJ will also be prosecuted. I see a day when there is an awful lot of people in Washington who are in jail, and a lot of people in Washington looking around and going, you want to be House Speaker? I don't know. We need some people. How about you? You love those little pins, don't you? Come on over here. Be the speaker. I think there's going to be so few people left. And I think a lot of congressmen and senators are going to be indicted. I really do. I think they're going to be indicted. I think they're going to have to either give up their seats, or if it drags on long enough, they'll just lose their next election. And I think that there's going to be a real scramble on the part of the Republican Party to fill seats with Republicans. I just don't think they're going to have people who can win elections. I think that a lot of those Republicans that are in office now are going to be in jail or prison or whatever, or just be made bankrupt by all the legal fees. I think it's a real bad situation for the people who have affiliated themselves with the Orange Menace.
So, as far as the future of all of these things that we've been talking about, this does not come up for no reason. All these little things that are happening will make things, it's hard to imagine, but it's going to make things so much better in the end. Mm-hmm. So much better for America, so much better, you know, regarding COVID, the pandemics, everything. We are all learning from this, and it's going to change the collective consciousness of how we live our lives. And you're probably right. If they do big major house cleaning in Washington, D.C., that will be, again, it's something that's needed. Just like, you know, everybody thinking they're losing their women thinking they're losing their rights, and the thing with the Supreme Court. This had to happen. It had to happen. This thing with Trump, it had to happen. So we can be more aware of exactly what's going on. And I see the future looking so much, there's so much promise in the future, so much promise. And, we live in an amazing country. And the people of the country, I mean, they just amaze me. I mean, look what we went through. Like a lockdown across the whole world went into lockdown. And we all survived it. And, it wasn't fun. It wasn't easy.
Well, not all of us survived it.
Excuse me. A lot of people died.
Yeah.
But the people that did survive it, they kind of came out of the house like, wow, I'm okay. I'm still here.
It was like waking up in Oz.
Exactly.
You get out of the house and you're like, wow, I'm not in Kansas anymore. Like I could go out to dinner. It was quite remarkable.
And even with all the people that complained and fought against the vaccine or fought against the different mandates. Anyway, Biden right away jumps on it, does what he did. We can be just so thankful for what he did for us.
And don't forget, they didn't let him do his prep work because of all this nonsense about the election. Usually, once the election is called, which is usually within a couple of days after the election, the next president gets to start calling world leaders and putting together his cabinet and getting in there and looking at what's left over, like plans for a pandemic and, defending the national security and things like that. He couldn't do any of that until after the insurrection. And even then, Trump, because he had fueled the insurrection, I don't think Biden was even allowed into the White House until probably January 20th.
I think you're right.
And the amazing thing is that, yes, we elected somebody who had been vice president. So good. He knew where all the bathrooms were in the White House so he could get to work right away. But they sure tied his hands.
He did an amazing job.
He did an amazing job.
And he continues. He has totally changed. The world looked at us for a minute and said, what are you people thinking about?
Yes.
And then Biden comes in and they're like, they're relaxed. They're just like,
but they're still reluctant. Remember the first thing he went to, some kind of like G8 or something like that. And the rest of the world leaders were still a little bit like, yeah, how long are you here for though, Joe? That guy could come back. We don't know if we can trust you or not. There was issues. Even NATO was very, very like, I don't know. Let's see. He really had to work hard to gain their trust back. And it's only because I believe that it was Joe Biden, whose name they have heard around the world for like the last 30 years.
And many of those people had dealt with them in the past when he was vice president. So they knew that they were dealing with an honest person, an experienced person. And I just, I really think that a lot of other countries are relieved.
Oh, yeah. Oh, to be sure. They trusted him. They were all relieved to see him back, and they had relationships with him. But the damage that the Orange Menace did to our world reputation, all of our relationships, all of our embassies around the world were just gutted. And all of our relationships with organizations like the UN and NATO and WHO and all of these other organizations was decimated. And it was not easy for Joe Biden to come in there and say, we're going to put it all back together. I mean, they wanted to hear that, but they also just didn't trust. They didn't want to have their little hearts broken again.
Right.
The United States. I don't blame them.
Yeah, they didn't want to get their hopes up because they had seen something that they'd never seen before come out of the United States. And, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, bad, really bad. Yeah, everybody, put your questions in the comments for Cleo, and next time we get together, we'll answer your questions.
Exactly. I'd love to know what other people are thinking. I'd also love to hear from people that that have insight into the future like I do. See if they agree, don't agree. What do they see happening? I mean, it would be nice to get a conversation going with these people.
Absolutely. And, at some point, maybe we can do a live stream and then you can see people's questions as we go.
That'd be great.
Yeah, that'd be fun. All right. Well, thank you so much. This has been really, really fun. I really enjoyed this. And yes, everybody, just to repeat, yes, Cleo and I are sisters. So.
We are.
We are sisters. We really are. So, so I hope none of you missed any of the inside jokes. I don't think we even told any inside jokes. So I think we're pretty good with that. And I don't know when we're going to do this again, but we definitely are going to do this again. So I will post it on my community page when I know when Cleo is going to be coming back. And thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
All right. See you later.